So, today we're going to dive into this really powerful story about how you can take a mind that feels scattered and totally overwhelmed and turn it into this incredible tool for focus and, well, for success. And it all kicks off with a feeling I think we've all had. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? It's that feeling where your thoughts are just a swirling storm, your stress levels are through the roof, and trying to concentrate on just one single thing feels absolutely impossible. It's a struggle that, let's be honest, so many of us face. Well, that was pretty much the daily reality for a young student named Ethan. When it came to his schoolwork, it just felt like he was constantly hitting a brick wall. None of the lessons would stick, and his confidence was basically in a free fall. So, finally, he works up the courage to go talk to his teacher. And what he says, man, it just captures the whole thing, doesn't it? The frustration, the self-doubt, and that feeling of just desperately needing things to change. Now that teacher, a philosophy professor named Mr. Harris, he saw Ethan's struggle and he didn't see it as some kind of personal failure. No, he saw it for what it was, a totally universal human problem. And he recognized a chance to show Ethan a whole new way forward. So what he did was he offered Ethan 5 techniques. And these weren't some complicated theories you need a PhD to understand. They were simple, but incredibly powerful tips that had the potential to change everything. And these are the 5 keys that we're going to unlock together right now. So where did Mr. Harris even begin? Well, interestingly, not with study habits. He started with the mind itself. See, before you can learn anything effectively, you first have to learn how to tame your own thoughts. And it all begins with 2 really fundamental steps. Mr. Harris started with this brilliant, simple analogy. He said a stressed out mind is like a jar of muddy water. You shake it up with anxiety and a million distractions, and you can't see a thing through it, right? It's just murky. But if you just let it be still for a moment, the mud settles all on its own, and the water becomes crystal clear. Our minds, they work the exact same way. So how do you actually let that mud settle? Well, the first lesson was unbelievably simple. Just pause. Before you start studying, just take 5 minutes. That's it. Close your eyes and put all of your focus just on your breath going in and out. This one little action calms that mental storm and lets clarity bubble up to the surface. The second lesson builds right on top of that. Mr. Harris lit a candle and just asked Ethan to focus on the flame. Now, of course, his mind would wander, you know how it is, thinking about past mistakes, worrying about the future. But the whole task was just to gently, without judgment, bring his attention back to that single point of light. The lesson here is so crucial. You have to anchor yourself in the present moment, because really, it's the only place where you have any true control. Okay, so your mind is calm, you're in the moment, now what? How do we actually learn? Mr. Harris's next lessons were all about the practical art of absorbing knowledge in a way that actually works. Lesson number 3 came down to a really simple question. Are you a rock or are you a sponge? See, when you just try to cram facts into your head without any context, information just rolls right off you, like water off a rock. But when you make an effort to truly understand something by using your imagination, by connecting it to real-world examples, you become a sponge. You soak that knowledge right in. All right, the 4th lesson was all about tackling that feeling of being completely overwhelmed. Imagine trying to break a giant block of wood with one swing. It's impossible, right? But if you cut it into smaller, manageable pieces, it becomes easy. Learning is exactly the same. Break down those huge subjects into bite-sized chunks. Study a little bit every day. And super important, remember to take breaks. That's how you make the impossible feel totally possible. But here's the thing. All of those amazing techniques are powered by one final, absolutely crucial lesson. You could call this the secret ingredient that makes everything else work. And that is the power of consistent effort. To explain this, Mr. Harris told the story of 2 seeds. One was watered just a little bit every single day. And you guessed it, it sprouted and it grew strong. The other one, it was neglected, and it stayed as just dry soil. The message here is crystal clear, isn't it? And that was the 5th and final lesson. Consistency is everything. It is not about cramming for 5 hours once a week. It's about that small, daily practice. Just 20 minutes a day is way more powerful than hours and hours of sporadic, last-minute studying. A little water every day, that's what creates life. So, what happened to Ethan? I mean, did these 5 simple tips actually make a difference?
Let's take a look at what this kind of transformation looks like when you actually put these ideas into practice day in and day out.
So Ethan applied these lessons. It wasn't some kind of overnight miracle. It was a slow, steady compounding of all those small efforts. But you fast forward 5 years, and his life looked completely different. Of course, his grades improved. I mean, they improved dramatically. But that wasn't the real transformation. The biggest change, the most important one, was that he actually started to enjoy learning. The fear and the frustration were just gone, and in their place was the pure joy of discovery. So these 5 lessons from Ethan's story, they aren't just ideas. They're your personal toolkit. You have the 5-minute breath to calm that muddy water, the candle focus to anchor yourself right here, right now, the sponge mindset to really understand, not just memorize, the block method to conquer any overwhelming task, and of course, the daily watering to guarantee consistent growth. You know, Ethan's story really reminds us that true growth, the kind that lasts, doesn't come from some single heroic effort. It comes from the small, consistent actions we choose to take every single day. So that leaves one question for you. What important seed will you start watering today?